Okay, so we're gonna explain, I've got the fabrics and I'm gonna explain what I'm gonna do with these fabrics. This is the chiffon that I'm going to be using for the Grara, and then use this jamawar to make the top and also to do the trimming of this. With this we also need a lining. Now the lining that I'm going to use is going to be this slightly like a cross between an orange and a, but it will give it's got a slight bit of stiffness and it will give the slight bit of shine to the fabric as well. So I'm going to be lining the top of the dress as well. That's something that I actually didn't do in the previous one. So I'm going to do the easier bits first, and I try and work it from that. So with this, the first thing we're going to do is create the lining for the trouser. This is a standard 45-inch wide fabric. I would have preferred to use a slightly stiffer fabric, but this is one that I've got readily available, so we're just going to use this. To make this trouser, we've got enough fabric. This is just a young child's, so there's ample fabric to make this. It's going to be like the pajama cut, and I'm not going to do a massive amount of stitching or cutting on this because we want to keep it as simple and as easy as possible. Okay, so first of all, let's just straighten the fabric out, and we're going to use perhaps a slightly bigger. Let's try and use a marker on this, because generally our complaint is that we can't see what you're marking out. That's generally the complaint with the viewers, so trying to address that. Now at the moment I'm trying to straighten out the fabric, and it looks like there is a certain degree of, if we look at the bottom layer of the fabric here, what we've got is a couple of inches of difference. Now what will happen is if I try to straighten the fabric out from here, then that will come away from here to try and, it will only straighten out one way. So that's a problem with, even though this is stone, there is a problem with the grain of the fabric and it's going to get a twist. So even though there's a massive difference there, that's something that you've got to bear in mind, and this is all down to layout. So as long as these edges, the straight grain of the fabric match up, then we're going to have to disregard this. Now if we were to use and straighten this, then this fabric will not match out. So that's something that is very, very important to bear in mind when cutting. Now the cut that we're going to be using is this. I've taken the measurements and the overall length and then where we're taking out what from. Okay, so the overall length is something that I forgot to take. I'm just going to quickly take what the overall length of the lining will be. Even though I saw so many for Inaya, I still don't always remember. Now, one thing I would try and encourage you to do is not to make it too long. Okay, we're going to go for, just to make it easier for ourselves, we're going to make it to 30 inches. And I'm going to take away the excess material because it makes it easier to handle. So this is just a 45-inch wide fabric. I've taken away the excess, and I'm going to create the two legs from a double folded fabric. On the one side I've got a problem with the cut in this, so we're going to disregard that. The other thing that we want is really the inside leg of this, which is about 20 inches. So I'm going to measure 20 inches and I'm just going to mark a marking there. at 20 inches. Okay, and then from this 20 inches I want a measurement of 18. Okay, and then what I will do is I will turn that over and meet those 2 points. And the turning that I do, I am going to do it at an angle. So we had those 2 points meeting. We know that that will be left at 18 because we've already marked that out. And I'm going to, having folded that, I'm going to make the rest of the markings and work this out. So we know that this is the inside leg, which is 19 inches. We're not going to have a cut there. From here, we're just going to measure 1.5 inches in, and from there we're going to meet that up with the 1.5 inches, and that's the front crutch. Here, if I want to, this is going to be, I'm going to leave it like a wide legged, because it's going to have very wide trouser to go on top of it. Now if I wanted to shape this, then I would take away a certain amount and make it, if I wanted to make it narrow, but because I'm not going to make this narrow, the only cutting that I'm going to do here is the crutch line cutting. I'm going to cut it slightly on the outer side of the marking because I don't want the markings left in. This is the markings that are there just to explain to you. So that 1.5 inches, I've just taken that angled piece off, and at the bottom there was already a difference in the two. I'm just going to take away that difference and that excess, and then, you know, the back leg I'm just going to cut along equally the same. Now we're just going to open this back up and measure from here to the other side. And that measurement I'm going to be doing is the measurement of the waist plus a little bit of extra. So I'm going to measure this to about 14 inches, 14.5 inches, and then measure 3 inches in and just put a little dot, and then mark that down and curve it in for the back crutch. So I don't really want to mark this so severely, because what's going to happen is, so what you just saw me marking was along here, these, you can see the outer line of the marking. And the next thing I'm going to do is just a slight bit of a decrease, and that is a decrease from the front, a decrease from the front crutch up to the back crutch, a decrease of about measuring about an inch taken off. And that's basically it. That's the lining of the trouser. So that will meet towards there. That's the back crutch. That's the front crutch. Now if you wanted this shaping, what we can do is slightly decrease it. Okay, we're going to just take a little bit away. Now from this, we're going to cut two things. We want one layer that's going to come to here, the other layer that's going to come to here, and the top portion that's going to be cut exactly same as this. So the first one from this chiffon, and now this one is not the very wide chiffon, so we can either have it more pieces and going this way, or we can have less pieces and going this way. It's entirely up to you. No, I would go for the right way, and we're just gonna create, what did we measure, 14 inches. We're gonna have our main panels. So for this one, what we'll do is we'll cut 14 times 3 for one leg and 14 times 3 for the other leg. This chiffon tears perfectly fine. Rather than cutting, use the tearing because it will give you. So in total we're going to have 6 of these pieces, and then for the next one we're going to use 7 inches, and for the 7 inches we'll use 3 pieces. No, Sulemani है पहले. No, उधर ही है. Right, for the final one, we want approximately similar. We're just going to cut the one piece and then so those are just straight pieces. This one is slightly shaped, so what you want to do is just fold that in double and place that on top of this. Make sure that it's even on both sides, and basically just cut to the shape of so you should have 3 pieces like such that we're going to be doing the gathers. Actually, we may need to use, yeah, it should be double the size of this, so this will get gathers and get attached to the one leg. Even maybe even this much is enough, even 2 may be enough, rather than having too much of a gear. And then you've got the further one. If you need, you can add half this and add it both to one side and the other side, which I think what I'll do is half this, attach it to that, and then create the gathers for the one side. So that's and the 3 pieces, and then you have 6 pieces of the main one. Here I've cut 2. I need further 4 more of this, and that's the sharara with the lining all cut. So the only thing that we need now with this one is fabric for the trim.